Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order this business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District. Today is Tuesday, April 8th. I would like everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and our student leader, Jordan Cermak, will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. Item 1.3, roll call. All members of the board are present with the exception of Member Moore. He is not here. Members of the cabinet are present: Dr. Plotnick, Dr. Hendrickson, Dr. Jensen, and Mr. Dolezal. Item 1.4, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any changes? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 1.5, President's Report. Since the last meeting, I had the privilege of attending the Employee of the Month breakfast, and I congratulate all of our staff that was recognized and appreciate everything that they do. And I also was at Sonoran Trails for the superintendent's coffee. Item 1.6, board comments.
I was able to attend the most recent, the last improv show last week at the Fine Arts, or actually not at the Fine Arts Center, at Cactus Shadows High School. We have a lot of seniors graduating this year, so that's getting bittersweet as it's just around the corner. Part of my family also enjoyed Schoolhouse Rock at Black Mountain last week. It's just a busy time of year where I think most of us are on campus numerous times every week until, well, I think we're counting down the last 7 weeks or so. And a few of my kids reported today that testing was easy. So kudos to everybody that proctored all of those tests at multiple campuses.
Okay.
That's it.
I know I had stuff, but I was just doing ACT tests all day, and so I have very few working brain cells. I can't remember if there was something, so I'll save it for the next meeting.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm going to have to do the same. Usually I have my notes, but I don't, so I'll reconvene
Okay,
then.
fair enough. It's that time of the year. Item 1.7, Superintendent's Report.
President Greer Busby, members of the board. First, I would like to share a shout out from the Cave Creek Museum to our track and field athletes who assisted them with their annual Miners Dinner fundraiser on March 25th. They were very complimentary and impressed not only with our student athletes' work, but also their demeanor and how they conducted themselves. Another one on Saturday, March 22nd at the Nike Chandler Rotary Invite, Falcon Jr. Jalen Wage became a track and field legend at Cactus Shadows. She took down 2 Cactus Shadows High School track and field records that day. Jalen finished the 100-meter with a blistering time of 12.29 and finished the 200-meter with a time of 25.36, both new Cactus Shadows records, so congratulations, Jalen. Congratulations to Coach Guy Gianni, who reached the 200-win milestone with Cactus Shadows Baseball on Monday, March 31st, with a win over Saguaro 6-5. Best of luck to the Falcons and the rest of their season. I was also able to attend the IB dinner on Saturday night, where seniors were honored with their families. Thank you to Ben Anderson for inviting me, and of course to Mrs. Angela Thomas for all her work as the IB coordinator. And we recently received word that Black Mountain Elementary School and Principal Matt Owsley are finalists for the School Connect Champions of Education Award for 2025. This award recognizes a school that has built a diverse network of community partners to support the school students and families. Leadership has worked strategically to celebrate community engagement, and the school actively tracks progress towards goals. Mr. Owsley and I will attend, as well as Cactus Shadow's very own Vivace Choir will be performing at the event on May 1st, 2025. Best of luck to Mr. Owsley and Black Mountain. And finally, it is my pleasure to introduce our student leader on the dais with us tonight from Desert Willow Elementary, Miss Jordan Cermak.
Good evening, buenas tardes a todos los presentes. Muchas gracias por la experiencia y todos los momentos de aprendizaje que he vivido. Estoy muy feliz de haber participado con todas las diferentes culturas y comparten los maestros de todos los diferentes países como España, México, Panamá, Colombia y Perú. Basically, I just gave a big shout out to all my teachers from all different countries that have enriched my culture through language and academics. My name is Jordan Cermak. I'm a 5th grader at Desert Willow. I want to share a few things about me to all of you. I love all sports. I play basketball, golf, flag football, and cross country. But basketball is my passion. One day, I do not only want to play in college, but my dream is to play in the WNBA. Then, when I retire from the WNBA, I would love to be a sportscaster for ESPN. My drive and determination is not only shown on the basketball court, golf course, and football field. I work hardly daily in my schoolwork too. I know without good grades, my dreams will not come true. Desert Willow has been an amazing place for me to learn and grow. I am very sad to leave all the incredible teachers and staff at Desert Willow. They have shaped me into a strong, confident young lady. I am grateful for everyone who has played a part in my life these last 7 years. But I am looking forward to what the future has in store for me. Thank you for your time. Have a good night. Gracias por todo.
And that concludes my superintendent report.
Okay. Item 2.1 are March Students of the Month. It is with great pride that we gather to celebrate our exceptional students of the month. Each month, we recognize students who embody our district's core values: perseverance, leadership, compassion, and excellence. Tonight, we honor not just academic achievement, but the qualities that shape these students into well-rounded future leaders. As Maya Angelou once said, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. Our honorees have demonstrated success through passion and dedication, inspiring peers, and making their families, teachers, and community proud. Whether excelling in academics, arts, athletics, or leadership, they show that greatness comes from hard work and commitment. Their achievements are the result of a strong support system, parents, teachers, and the community working together. To our honorees, congratulations. You are the best of Cave Creek Unified, and we look forward to your future contributions to the world. The board's going to come up here to congratulate you, and we're going to call each student up individually. Our first student is from Black Mountain, Kenley Usaka. Congratulations. From Desert Sun, Evan Mendoza. From Desert Willow, Hunter Anthony. Congratulations. Also from Desert Willow, Tylee Anthony. From Horseshoe Trails, Jenna Bauman. Congrats, Jenna. From Lone Mountain, Hadley Mulligan.
Congratulations.
From Sonoran Trails, Betsy Zeno.
Congratulations.
And from Cactus Shadows, Taylor Walker.
Congratulations.
Okay, parents, this is your photo op moment. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break here, so if you'd like to leave, this might be a great opportunity, and then we'll reconvene. Okay. All right, moving right along here. Item 2.2, the 2025-26 Employee Medical Insurance Benefits Presentation, presented by Dr. Henriksen.
President Greer, members of the board, I'm going to be providing kind of an update on our benefits recommendations for this year and the process of how we come about to determine our benefits needs and possible any changes. And we'll have a few changes that we're recommending tonight. And I do have the just a quick overview of our benefits. As you know, we switched to ASBATE. Who is our kind of benefits provider through Meritain. So we switched to them about 3 years ago as we continue to look at competitive plans that will meet the needs of our staff, but also being affordable. Delta Dental has been our dental provider. Colonial Life provides supplemental insurance that staff can buy into, including our VSP vision plan. So those are our major carriers. We also have some additional other carriers, pet insurance that people might be interested in, LifeLock, things like that. But we're just going to kind of highlight our major ones that the majority of our staff select to use. So each year we do an annual review of benefit options and looking at rates, coverage, and plan options. And every year we also get bombarded from other companies that are interested in working with us. And so we also always make sure we do a comprehensive review, making sure do we know the needs of our employees, the things that they're asking for? Do our plans and our options that we provide continue to meet those needs, or do we need to make those adjustments? So a few weeks back we met in our IBN and looked at our different plans. And changes, some of it were forced changes that we had to make with some changes in our plans that were no longer being offered. But then also looking at what is the best value for our employees. We do know that every year we do have insurance rates that increase. It's just as everything else in the world. And so 24-25, our rates were roughly $618 a month for a premium. We cover that for the employee. This year, those rates went up to $660, and that was a major win for us. And so that was about a 6.7% increase. I want to say last year we saw about 11% increase where we absorbed the majority of it. We did pass along a little bit of that to the our staff. But with that increase that we saw and the amount for the total for the year, and working with Dr. Pletnick in finance, we were able to determine that that was an increased cost that we could absorb as a district. Again, finding ways that we're not passing on any additional costs to our employees. With everything else going up, we wanted to make sure we're securing that. So we do a few different things to keep our rates low. We meet with Meritain each month to look at what is our usage, what are our claims, and ways that we can educate our staff to find alternative ways. If it's instead of going to a doctor, going through Teladoc, which is going to be a cheaper option for them, or going to Teladoc before going to the ER, because you might be able to to have a lower claim. There's lots of education that Meritain provides, and so we try to get that out to our staff as well, all in an effort to keep our insurance premiums as low as possible. So currently, I'm only going to highlight 3 of our 4 plans. Our 4th plan is our silver plan. That's a grandfather plan for only the staff members that can that were in it at the time that we switched. We're only allowed to carry 3 plans with a grandfathered 4th. But our 4 major plans are going to be our banner value bronze, high deductible A plan, and high deductible B. And then from there, you kind of see the benefits of each one. The value bronze is the paid plan for our employees, roughly $23 a month. That's paid during 21 pay periods, so it comes out to just over $13 a pay period over 21 pay periods. Our high deductible plans are our 2 free plans, with our high deductible A being no cost, but there's also no contribution to the HSA account. And then our high deductible B, again, another no cost, but because of the additional savings in that plan, we pass along that additional savings of $300 to the employees that take that plan. So we make it a contribution of $300 to their HSA account this year. I have that highlighted in red because that is the plan that we are looking to ask the board to approve a change to. So we looked at our plans for this year. So with the PPO plan, our first one, banner value bronze, a slight increase. So we went from $23.50 a month to $25. So there is a slight increase of $1.50 a month to our employees. So very, very minimal there. But we took the time in IBM to look at this high deductible C plan. A couple of things we did is we looked at of all of our employees that are in the high deductible plans, how many of them are reaching their deductible or reaching their maximum out of pocket? Because that C plan goes from, if I can switch back here, $4,200 and $8,400 deductible to a $6,000, $12,000 deductible. So knowing that there's a higher deductible, are we putting our employees out with that? Because a lot of them are reaching that deductible. And in doing our research and looking at the data, very few staff members are actually meeting their deductible, so we felt good about that. The other thing that we saw is that most of our staff members that take the high deductible plans, majority took the A plan, which had 0 contributions. But when I look at the meeting those deductibles, many of our staff never even reached their deductibles or had less than $300 in expenses. And so knowing that, how do we educate them to move to the plan that we actually make that HSA contribution, because they had 0 claims that year. And so that's part of the education we want to do moving forward. But with this high deductible C plan, the maximum out of pocket is actually only $500 more than the B plan. And so kind of in talking with our IBN team, and I don't know if Jill is here today. Jill McLean is our resident expert in high deductible plan. She maximizes how she uses it. And so she's the poster child for it. And really knowing that it's only $500 more out of pocket, but we're more than doubling the HSA contribution, which is a huge thing to be able to do. The team felt like this was a better option for our staff, and so that's why we're going to be recommending that change. And then changes with our dental. Again, we traditionally have offered 2 plans. Delta Dental has a plan, and then we had an EDS, which is an HMO plan that was a very low cost. That plan is no longer available. That's not anything that they offer anymore. And I really think it's because it was so inexpensive that it wasn't necessarily, the company not necessarily making money. So that has unfortunately gone away. We are going to look at options moving forward in the future. But one of the things that we looked at is through Colonial Life, their sister company Unum, is they were able to give us 2 different plans that have equal or better coverage actually at less of a cost. Our Delta Dental did increase in cost. So we have a Unum High plan that we'll be recommending, has better coverage than our current Delta plan, is I want to say $3 or $4 less than Delta Dental for next year. And then the low plan is the same exact coverage as Delta Dental with a much less cost. I want to say it's in the $10 range less than Delta Dental. And again, every year as we look at these, we want to, as rates are going up, we go, does it meet the need of our employees? Are there better plans that are out there? The other reason that we are looking to kind of go through Unum and Colonial Life is we're looking to consolidate the number of businesses or companies that we work with. We don't want our employees to have to navigate to this site and this company or this person for this thing and then moving towards another one. So this allows us to consolidate. It makes it a lot easier for user experience for our staff, makes it a lot easier and more accurate on our side of the house for billing, things like that. And so ASBATE will continue to be our major medical. VSP Vision, which was a separate one, it's still going to be VSP Vision now through ASBATE, so that's going to actually be a lower cost. As I mentioned, Unum is a sister company of Colonial Life, and so they're going to be able to do all of our basic life, which we give to every single employee, additional supplemental life, short-term disability, dental, supplemental accident. So our employees have to go to one portal, one website, one point of contact for all of these supplemental plans, again, to make it a better user experience. And again, as just kind of highlight, the reason for these changes is consolidating enrollment, contacts, and billing. We want to make this a frictionless process as our staff are open enrolling as that's getting ready to start. Making sure we can find ways to offer better health coverage, increasing HSA contributions, and maintaining or decreasing employee and employer cost. And then we feel really good about our plan offerings this year that we're able to reduce both of those for our staff. So with that, I'll open up to any questions, and this will be coming up as a board item for approval later on as well.
Any questions from anybody? I have just one question for you. What was budgeted? We got a 6.7% increase, so, and you indicated that we can cover that increase. So how much was actually budgeted, or what was the expected increase?
Yeah, so we can. We roughly 319 employees take advantage of our insurance plans. Not all of them add family or things like that, but it's at $618 times 313, I think. Going up to 660. I want to say, and I can get those 170,000 roughly increased to us. But again, our overall user enrollment will probably go down, so I don't know how much of an increase that will be with our consolidation of staff, with our closing of schools. So we'll have to see during the open enrollment. So it's roughly $224,000 a month. So it's about $2.4 million roughly a year is what we spend on insurance, and that goes up about $170,000. I want to say, and I can get you that. I can add that exact figure to the board update.
I think you were asking, did we budget it? Were we expecting a 10% increase
Oh, yes.
versus a 6.7?
Correct, yes.
What I was
Yes.
asking.
Thank you.
Thank you for the other info.
Yeah, it's a shot in the dark of what we get. We look at our our premium payments and our claims each month, and starting the year it looked pretty ugly, where we had higher claims than we had premiums, and so I think ASBATE marketed, or they told us anywhere from a 6 to a 12% increase is what we could expect. We came in at 6.7. Some other companies that we were looking at to possibly, if we were going to look at moving, they had 11 to 15% increase. And so talking with my counterparts in other parts of the state, we felt really good at where our number came in at.
A 6.7% increase is great.
Yeah.
So.
Sadly, we cheer for 6.7% increase.
Yeah, well, that's the world we're in these days. Any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you. Item 2.3, interest-based negotiation team recommendations presented by Dr. Hendrickson.
President Greer, members of the governing board, I'm going to be providing a kind of a highlight of our process in IBN this year. Typically, we present this as a team, but kind of with a lot of unknowns happening and a lot of extra meetings and with school closures to kind of save the time of our staff members, I'm going to kind of present the majority or all the information. We are going to be bringing this for a work study. One of the things that IBN discussed early on is, how do we kind of have that engagement with the governing board as far as the process, what it looks like, but then also talk about what is future planning, what are some of their future planning needs. And you're going to see some things in our presentation tonight for future considerations that we're going to be meeting with to look at other options for increasing kind of workplace conditions and requirements of staff. So I'll highlight those, and we'll have those conversations at our work study later this month. But I want to begin by thanking all of these staff members. They spent 3 full days and then countless hours outside of this time planning, preparing, having conversation with staff, sending surveys out. So a lot of behind the scenes prior to them coming to our IBN meeting. So I want to thank them. I know we have several of them here in the audience tonight, so appreciate all their time and dedication that they put into this. So as we've shared in the past, the IBN process is about collaborating on solution in both the best and the worst of times. And so kind of started off with some of the worst of times, knowing our budget cuts and the need for school closures and what would happen. And we felt as we got through that process, got through the recommendation that we'll be doing tonight for the 1% raise, we felt really good about it this year. Still work to be done, still conversations we are going to have. But really it's about what are the needs and the best interests for the good of the whole. And that's what we really came back to is, we can make concessions or changes here, but does that help the good of the whole and help our organization moving forward? So really it's all about the story. And so that usually begins with our staff, our classified, certified, and administration sending out surveys to their groups and finding out what are the needs, what are the interests, what are the concerns, what are the rubbing points, what are the victories that we found, and being able to articulate what is the story and what's happening in their world. From there, we go, what are our interests, and trying to determine what are our shared interests as an organization as a whole moving forward, and then looking for options to meet those interests. And as we go through this, we kind of run through standards of how we measure and how we weigh things through to make sure that, is it sustainable? Is it legal? Is it something that we can implement? And then we kind of evaluate that before we implement. So that's the kind of the process we go through. Each year we work with Sheila Sorensen, who kind of runs our IBN committee. Unfortunately, for some health reasons, she had to step away kind of mid-year, and so we kind of worked as a team together to kind of get through the rest of the work. So kind of a timeline of our meetings began on December 12th with a debrief, IBN providing some homework, sharing the data of the surveys, again, telling those stories. February, Dr. Pletnick came in, provided the budget presentation. At that time, we began identifying potential cuts in order to make that $2.6 million deficit. And then, again, starting that process of identifying our priorities. March, our last meeting, we were able to finalize those priorities and options, final consensus of what we are going to move forward and request. And then still, again, as I mentioned, still some work to be doing. So we want to continue to look at work for evaluation and training, so teacher evaluations and trainings that are ongoing for staff. How do we reduce where we can reduce as part of our options that we'll talk about tonight? We do have a commitment to reconvene should funds become available, knowing that in December we're going to evaluate what is our actual savings from our school closure. We do have a commitment that we want to come back together at a later point. And then also the master agreement, coming back to determine are there additions, changes prior to that coming back to the board here in June. So some continued work that we're going to do behind the scenes as a team. So again, the purpose, serving advocates for all staff through transparency and collaboration, making sure we're supporting the vision and mission of the district, and making sure it's a positive approach, and making sure that we are all here, again, for the good of the whole. And this team primarily has been together for the past 3 years, and we found that continuity of team members has allowed us to dig into the work, understand the process, and have good, open, and honest conversations, sometimes hard conversations when we need to have them in order for us to move forward with identifying options and whatnot. I had mentioned earlier we kind of have standards that we run things through. So you have a decision and you kind of run it through a litmus test, and we look at, is it affordable? Is it balanced? Is it good for both classified, certified administration? Again, we collaborate through that. Is it evidence-based, a practice? Is it good for teaching? Is it good for employee health and well-being? Intentional, legal, sustainable, and transparent. And so with every decision we make, we kind of run it through this to say, yes, it meets all of those standards. So based on all of that work, our kind of recommendations for our from the classified staff, I'm going to start with both. 1% increase to the base for certified and classified, and so that was the request that was made coming out of that we are going to be presenting to the board a little bit later. The distribution of the 2023 one-time funding. If you recall, we got one-time additional state funding back in 2023. IBN decided instead of giving it all out at once, breaking that into a 3-year cycle. So the last year will be this next school year will be the last distribution of that one-time funding. So I'm really glad that they did that, knowing that if we weren't able to get any raises, that this would be something that we would be able to give to our employees regardless, those that were here in 2023. So we're going to be able to distribute that here in the fall. And then continuation of our current stipends, our nationally board certified doctorate longevity stipends that we our employees have come to know and expect every year, that for some of our employees, they really need that additional compensation. So we are going to recommend that we continue those moving forward. Things that we do want to review, and so this is going to be kind of the work behind the scenes to try to bring back to the governing board at a later time. Number one, increasing column movement for coursework. So currently we provide $400 and $600 as they move. Every 8 credits that they get a bump of $400 if it's after your bachelor's. After your master's, it's an increase of $800, $600 or $800, I can get that to you, for every additional coursework, 8 credits of coursework beyond on that. So possibly of looking to increase that to $800, for $800 for bachelor's, $1,200 for master's. I think the current amounts have been in place for quite some time, and so we want to look at what would that look like if we were to increase that. We don't have a whole lot of staff that take part in that, but we do have those that continue their education that build towards that, and so we can look at, can this increase compensation for all staff, get more staff to look into getting additional degrees and whatnot. And the other thing that we're looking to review is increasing club and the athletic stipends. Again, those have been pretty stagnant for the last several years. And so where are ways that we can increase those? One of the options that we're going to be exploring is moving our club stipends to ECS. We've done that with our elementary. It's very favorable with our elementary teachers. They can set their price for their class, price per student, per each time they meet, and it allows them to maximize their compensation with increased enrollments. And so we have music teachers, choir teachers that have 70, 80 students within their organization. They've built this. There's such an interest that parents are willing to pay for that additional things, and it helps compensate the teachers for that. And so it's really employee driven being able to do that. So I know our secondary is exploring, and we're going to look at what does that look like for them. It's something they've been able to do, but when we first rolled out the ECS clubs, it was kind of hesitant, but there's momentum growing, seeing what their elementary teachers are able to do. So with that, with our compensation, I'm just kind of take a pause right here for any questions. Oh, sorry, one more slide. So here's that breakdown of that one-time stipend. I had mentioned that one-time funding. So we are distributing $366,000 over a year, over a 3-year period. And so employees that were here 22-23 school year will be eligible for that. And the stipend is prorated based on the employee's FTE. And so again, maximizing where we can. Our certified staff, their choice when we enacted this 3 years ago now, or 2 years ago now, was to include years of service in that. So they get paid a base and then so many dollars for every year of service, which increases every year. So that will go up for our teachers that are returning. So we're going to continue that here in the fall. So before I move on to working conditions, any questions related to compensation, or we can also leave those at the end?
Any questions? Okay.
So recommendations working with our certified staff. One of the big things that we talked about was our Friday PLCs, is being able to be hands-off with our teachers on at least 2 of the days. And so the schedule we're going to recommend moving forward is in any given month, first Friday of the month is going to be complete teacher hands-off. It's their opportunity to do whatever it is they need to do, grade paperwork, plan with their team, simply get caught up on whatever it is that they feel meets their needs. Week 2 would be a district, kind of district PD that we want to do, or district PLCs. Week 3 would be the site. And then week 4 and then week 5 are going to be back to the teachers. Yes, there's only 4 weeks, but there's 3 to 4 months, or 3 to 4 months with a 5 week. So anytime there's a 5th week, we're going to give that to the teachers. One of the things we're going to be looking at in the future is, are there going to be options for, and it's going to run through our calendar committee, are there going to be options for utilizing I just said the term, instructional time model, to find flipped learning days where we can give long days of PD for our staff, long days for planning for our staff while students are working kind of remotely, currently what we do with our ACT. So that's going to be reviewed by the calendar committee for a recommendation that will come back to the board. And again, other topics to explore. So reviewing of evaluation process and requirements. And so what we mean by that is with our current evaluation system, there's lots of tasks that are required by teachers, having students complete a survey, setting a goal, uploading artifacts, things like that. And so we're going to have a discussion on, if you're a continuing teacher, meaning you've been here for 3 or more years, you're in the highest rankings of the evaluation system, are there layers that we can peel back from them, again, to give time back to them? So that's one conversation we're going to have. Equitability with additional duties. Making sure that it doesn't matter what school you're at. Obviously, economy of scale makes a difference, but what school you're at, are we being equitable with the number of extra duties our teachers doing, meaning before school, after school, things like that. So we'll be doing a review of what is currently required and seeing if we can kind of put some guardrails on that moving forward. Reviewing a mandatory annual training. So there's several trainings that our staff have to do at the beginning of the year. They all love the bloodborne pathogens one. It is fantastic, and I'm being facetious there. There's a good 8-9 hours of trainings, probably even more than that, at the beginning of every year that they do remotely. So what are trainings that we can take off their plate? That's a tricky one because in working with the trust, which are our insurance carrier, we get discounts by ensuring that our staff are completing these trainings. And so there's some things that we may not be mandatory every year, but because it saves us money that we can bring back into teachers, we can't necessarily move away from those. However, some trainings are only required on a 3-year cycle. And so how do we track that every 3 years we make sure that they're up on their training? So looking at different ways that we can peel that back. Revamping handbooks with established operating procedures. For instance, I know Mrs. Gregory, our ESS director, Dr. Jensen and her are working on kind of an ESS handbook of what are the standard operating procedures for how we hold meetings or identification of kids or placement of students, to really make sure that they all understand the playbook and the rules of the game and know what is required of them. Reinforcement of the master agreement, making sure all of our administrators, district office are aware of what is in the master agreement, what has been agreed upon with our certified and classified, and making sure that they're well aware of it. Equitable telework during the summer. We implement that a few years back for 12-month employees, but where are there opportunities for certified staff that are doing curriculum work? Can they do those things remotely as long as they're completing whatever that task is? And then continuation of looking at the 4-day school work and school week. Is that an option that the certified staff want to continue to explore with the governing board? Moving on to our classified staff. So again, these are things that we are wanting to explore. Number one, compensation. So currently our 9 to 11 month employees do not get paid during the fall and spring break. So is there an opportunity to provide 2 paid days on each one of those breaks so that our lowest paid employees do not have a break and pay during that time? Or is it a way that we can build it into their base salary? And so that's one of the things that we want to look at. And then address compression in the salary schedule. Every year as minimum wage goes up, we shift that up. We don't necessarily can shift up everything above that. So can we go back and explore and make sure that we're eliminating compression in that salary schedule. And then working conditions we discussed. PLC Fridays. So one of the things we had talked about is at the end of the day on a Friday, can classified staff simply kind of go home, but still not meet their full hours for working. And so legally, we can't just send a classified staff home when we want to close the front office. That's considered a gift of public funds. But is there flexibility to say, hey, if you leave an hour and a half early, as long as you make up that time during your Monday through Thursday. When that office is closed, when it's quiet, they don't have any additional work to do. They can either leave early and still meet their 40 hours, let's say, for the week, or some of our, for instance, our paras, they choose to leave early on Wednesdays as it is, so they don't get the full pay for that day, and that's their personal choice right now. So looking at options for that. Again, reduction of lunch before after school duties. With our schools being small in years past, we need everyone, all hands on deck. And so a lot of times you have our office staff that are jumping in and doing lunch duty, helping out with before and after. My hope is with the consolidation of schools, additional staff, because we still have to supervise the same number of kids or same number of locations on a staff. For instance, a school like DSA where you had 8 classroom teachers having to cover the same amount of space as a Black Mountain that has 20 core teachers. We're hoping the consolidation will take that extra work off our front office staff. Again, with the reduction of lunch before after school duties, providing that uninterrupted lunch time for our front office staff where they can simply step away and making sure we're reinforcing that. And then the continuation of the 24-25 working conditions, which I'm going to kind of pop to here. So things that they would like to see, kind of that digital suggestion box. There is opportunities where they can email, put things on through our website, but kind of having a better place for, hey, if they have suggestions, giving their feedback. That's one of the asks of our classified staff. Continued site visit from district office. So we've scheduled some of them this year, but more often having an opportunity for our cabinet to sit on a campus where classified staff are not working. Currently, we're there when they are working, and they're on the clock. So just to enable an opportunity for them to pop in, put a name to a face, give some input, ask questions, things like that. So we want to increase that. And then a classified committee established to meet with district administrators 2 to 4 times per year. We've met on a couple occasions with our IBN classified staff. So again, making that more robust, making that more predominant where they have an opportunity to sit with district administration. We can get some feedback from them, answer their questions as well. And so those are things that we are looking to make sure that we're solidifying moving into next year. And then, as I mentioned previously, ask of all groups is that we do the December review of the actualized savings from school closures to determine if additional compensation can be provided. That compensation might be in the form of a stipend, a one-time stipend, or can we add additional 1% to our base there? And so Dr. Pletnick and I will be looking at our numbers, looking at our enrollment, looking at our actual savings, and then hopefully coming back to the board in December saying, hey, we thought it was going to be this much. We actually saved this much. How much can we push off to our employees at that point? So with that, any questions from the board on any of those topics?
Any questions?
Yeah, I got just a couple here. You talked about the Friday PLC. When we were going through that whole calendar thing, the PLCs got moved from Wednesday to Friday, and that seemed like that might not have struck the right chord. I wanted to find out what the IBN folks thought about that, and is that working? Can they speak to that?
Point of order, am I allowed to call an IBN member up? I know we're going to talk about it at our work study, but any of our, Trish or Andrew, would you like to come up and?
And Member Fortney, I'll just speak on behalf of the group as well. They would agree with you. They do not like the Friday early release. I think it's point blank. They feel they're losing time.
Yeah. I'll just so I can, yeah, we agree. Most teachers were not very thrilled by the concept of potentially being here late on a Friday, doing collaborative work and being sort of having to do all of that before we can.
So it does keep you later on Fridays. That's a definite problem.
Currently, at some sites, yes.
Okay.
That does keep us later than our normal contracted day. So
Yeah.
could potentially be on Friday, staying a little later to complete that work. A lot of teachers stay anyway with their teams because that's the time that they get protected to do that collaboration. So it's now being pushed to a Friday, potentially. But
Well, And we do also have, just as a human, I think this is probably in any work, in any line of work, there are more absences on Fridays than any other day. And so when we're asking teachers to collaborate, but somebody's missing from their team, that makes it very difficult. And so there's all of those reasons, but that would just be two very specific. So we're concerned that the work won't be quite as effective. And so we are, and that was one of our discussions during IBN, was saying, okay, Tuesday during your planning time, you're going to do what you used to do after school, because the work still has to get done somehow. And if somebody is needing to jet out at 3:30 on Friday, that's going to cut into that collaborative team time. And so it's going to be, we're going to be creative. We're going to make it work. But yes, it's a challenge.
And we'll be collecting data on that as well to bring back to the board, and part of the calendar committee is what is the absences on Friday for staff? What is, even surveying staff to say, how productive do you feel Friday? I know as a principal and even as my current role, end of the day Friday, you're not the sharpest, as you mentioned, after testing all day, and so and so there's that concern for that, and so we'll bring that back to the board as we kind of work through that calendar committee.
Thanks.
And Member Fortney, not just that, but even student attendance data as well. Mm-hmm. So on all of those sides.
And with that instructional model that you're discussing, I'd assume maybe if we looked at doing like the district and the site days, not the teacher days, would be maybe a flipped.
Yes.
So that they could have a full, if they want to do training all day one Friday or still be out by 2 or.
Yes.
Right.
So what we discussed that would be ideal is exactly what Cactus Shadows did today. So the sophomores and the seniors were at home. The freshmen and the juniors were at school because they were taking the ACT and the Aspire test. So that would be something we would look at doing maybe once a quarter so that we could provide student or teachers with more extended time for that staff development and that collaborative teaming time. Because again, once you get into the work, you get the momentum going, and it would be great to have 2, 3, 4 hours to actually knock some things out and get it done. But in talking, we weren't sure if that was maybe too much of an ask of our community right now, given all of the uncertainty, I'll say, and there's certainty, so it's not uncertainty. All of the transition, we'll say that. And so we kind of want to wait and watch the Fridays and then go from there.
Any other questions?
Just one real quick. Can you speak to the difference between, and maybe there isn't any, I just can't recall it now, an increase of 1% to the base and then just a 1% raise?
So
Is there a
they're
difference?
one and the same. So
Okay.
like their base salary, it's not an increase to the classroom site fund. It's just an increase to what their base salary is. So either a continuing teacher, their base, or bringing our, when we do initial placement, kind of allowing us to be more competitive, adding it to that base.
And Member Fortney, where there's a big difference is that we have done things like one-time stipends for 1%, and so that was we're committing this money this year, and that is it. Whereas a 1% to the base is really an ongoing promise of that's that increase there. So that to me is the big difference, as opposed to doing something that's a one-time. Then we're making a commitment that's it moving forward.
And it compounds with additional raises in the future, and also benefits with ASRS at the end of their kind of time. So
I had actually just one other question. You talked about the stipend increasing from if they have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. Is there concern of those that have already maybe achieved that, and then somebody comes and gets their master's? Are they going to jump like the current salary that somebody could be at that's already had that education base?
absolutely. So that's part of the things that we would have to look at. So when we do salary placements is, we look at education and years of prior service. And then, with our salary schedule currently, it's not the cleanest salary schedule, just because we've given stipends or raises here and there, and so we've kind of moved away from the regular step process. And so one of the things we always ensure when we do that is we're not going to jump our loyal employees that have been here. So if you're a master's with 15 years and there's a teacher here that's master's with 15 years, we wouldn't be jumping them in that process. And so that's one of the things that we need to look at a little bit better with it. So.
Just a quick question back on when you were talking about the ongoing education kind of thing that had to be done, and you mentioned that the trust, part of that is do they have any type of tracking system that we could just plug that into so that we didn't have to recreate the wheel?
Yeah, so with the trust, Member Ulmer, so there's things that they will ask for reports from us as far as, completion of things. They also provide trainings that if we meet 3 of the 5 trainings, let's say, one of them was, I know Mike Santini will send him every year to a training on
Loss prevention.
Loss prevention. And so we take that, we do so many of those, and then that's like a 1% savings of what our insurance premium is with that. So there's different ways that they track that. And then also just general liability. If something were to happen and an employee's been educated on, you don't stand on a swirly chair to put up your board, and there's a workplace injury, yet they did not meet our expectations, we're limiting our liability a little bit there, but also making sure that they're staying safe.
And Vice President Ulmer, but the trust does not have a massive, so they depend on us to track it, and then we report it to them. They don't have a tracking system that we could put it into, which would automatically then track it through them, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you. 2.4, the gifted programming in Cave Creek Unified School District, presented by Dr. Jensen.
Thank you, President Greer, members of the board. The purpose of this presentation is to inform the public and our governing board about our gifted programming in Cave Creek Unified. We complete monitoring cycles with Arizona Department of Education each year to ensure that we're in compliance with legal requirements of all of our different programs. And so this year we have gifted programming as one of those. And so we have reviewed our gifted scope and sequence. Our documentation has been accepted by ADE, and presenting to the governing board is our final step to be sure that you are all aware of what we do. Frank, do you have the clicker? Sorry. Click. So what is gifted education? Arizona law requires that all public school districts must both identify gifted learners and provide appropriate educational programs and services for gifted learners. However, the law does not prescribe the methods that the district must use to serve their gifted learners. We identify gifted learners by using, here we go, what we call the COGAT test. That is a national test, and it's largely nonverbal. It's a computerized test. It takes the students maybe an hour or 2. Usually they find it fun. It's games and puzzles. There's a lot of analogies. The students, it's responsive to the students, so they don't know if they did a good job or not. It will get progressively easier or progressively harder, and the student doesn't know the difference. We do that in 2nd grade. The state does reimburse us now. That didn't used to be the case. And so it is nice that now they do reimburse us for those tests. We do the blanket testing in the spring each year. We just did it a few weeks ago. And then parents can opt in for referral testing 2 other times a year. However, a child cannot be tested twice within 1 year, otherwise it invalidates the test. So some parents get a little confused by that and want them tested every time, and we cannot do that. I will say typically retesting does not merit a big change in the test, which is actually good to me because that shows that it is a very reliable test for the most part. I will add here that the top bullet point that we do believe that all students are gifted at something. This test and the state only recognizes quantitative, qualitative, and nonverbal. So I do believe that there's gifted singers, gifted athletes, gifted at many other things, but this is what the state recognizes, and this is what we're required to provide additional services for. In terms of supporting our gifted learners, we group our students heterogeneously in all of our classrooms. You'll hear that differently in other school districts, which I disagree with. So we do make sure that there is a smattering of everyone in all of our classrooms, which then means we do a pull-out model for our gifted learners. So that means at a certain point of the day, the gifted teacher comes, pulls them out of the classroom, and then they do something extra, and then they go back into the classroom. That currently is happening in grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. With the 6th grade going to Sonoran Trails next year, that will only be happening in 3, 4, and 5. The 6th graders will have the option for accelerated learning through honors classes next year at the middle school. We do provide training to our teachers to ensure targeted instruction. I said we currently have 2 teachers that are currently serving those students. And in grades 6 through 12, students can elect into more advanced courses. I actually like 6 through 12 better because it is a more inclusive model, in that if the student wants to work hard, they get a go. In our 3rd through 6th grade, and next year it'll be 3rd through 5th grade model, it's only the students who score in the 97th percentile on the COGAT test. Teacher training. So all of our teachers do receive training. Ultimately, it comes down to really just meeting students' needs where they are. I've got a quote at the end of this that kind of sums up what it ought to look like. We want to provide more training for our teachers. We always want to provide more training for our teachers, but that's something that we're going to continue to focus on. I've been really happy about the fact that our gifted program has improved a lot over the last 2 years. I don't know if you remember 3 years ago, it was non-existent. We couldn't find a teacher, and it is, I'm going to say, thriving. We receive regular compliments about the program and what great things that they're doing in there, and it is excellent right now. And so now that we've gotten it back up to that place, we're going to encourage more training as well for other teachers. Our gifted teachers, or our creative inquiry teachers, provide additional training to parents on how to deal with your gifted learner, and things like that. They also offer, I'm going to call them exhibitions of learning, where the students can present what they've been working on in creative inquiry. I think we have a few of those coming up very soon, and it's always impressive because the projects look very different around the room. In short, I'm going to go ahead and read this to you because I think it beautifully summarizes what the gifted program, what all of our programming should be about. What it takes to teach gifted learners well is actually a little common sense. It begins with the premise that each child should come to school to stretch and grow daily. It includes the expectation that the measure of progress and growth is competition with oneself rather than competition against others. It resides in the notion that educators understand key concepts, principles, and skills of subject domains and present those in ways that cause highly able students to wonder and grasp and extend their reach. And it envisions schooling as an escalator on which students continually progress, rather than a series of stairs with landings on which advanced learners consistently wait. It's not so hard to articulate. It's fiendishly difficult to achieve in schools where standardization is the norm and where teachers are supported in being recipe followers rather than flexible and reflective artisans. In schools where responsive instruction is a carefully supported indicator of professional growth, the capacity to extend even the most capable mind is a benchmark of success. And that's something our PLCs and our collaborative teams have really been pushing on. We don't give teachers a recipe. We ask them to work together to come up with the best way to meet their learners. And again, I would argue that some neighboring districts where they do have, I'll call it a canned curriculum, is a recipe, and it does not meet our learners where they are. So I do feel like we're in the right direction and we're moving in a good place. In the future, like I said, we want to increase our training. I really would like to certify more more teachers in with their gifted endorsements. Unfortunately, right now, it's not super lucrative for them because they have to pay money for the classes, and then they don't really get anything in exchange other than more job opportunities. So it's not extrinsically rewarding for them right now. We want to formalize and document our gifted curriculum. Like I said, they've done a great job the last couple of years of creating it and making it excellent for our students. And so we want to document that so that it lives on beyond just a single person. And then providing accelerated pathways for our students in grades 6 through 12 to increase the numbers of students completing dual enrollment, AP, IB, and courses. I put beyond calculus because we've been really focusing on advancing the math among some of our elementary students so that they can extend beyond. With that, any questions?
Do parents have to sign them up to take the COGIT test? Or is it just every kid gets it?
Every student takes it in second grade. It's
Okay.
just they go there. They don't really know. I mean, they know that they're being tested. The teachers usually practice it with them a little bit in terms of what the format looks like. But it's not like, I mean, it's easy, like Brianna's student said today. But it's not like it's hard, and it doesn't feel like a test. It feels like games, kind of.
And Dr. Jensen, otherwise there's 3 times a year that we give it where parents do sign up.
Yes. So they could, there's a link on our website where they can go in and they can sign up for a time when we administer it here.
And why would they do that if they can't take it twice in a year?
If maybe they have a 4th grader, maybe they moved in 3rd grade and they never took it in 2nd grade in their other district. It's I'd say less than 5 a year are doing it. It used to be a lot more regular, but less than 5 a year.
With the consolidation of schools next year, the 2 gifted teachers, were they bouncing around from campus to campus and pulling out students so many times a week? How's that going to change with the 3 elementary schools?
Yes. So depending on staff, both teachers have been offered the gifted position again because we didn't want to make any cuts. However, it kind of looks like we're just going to have one who's returning. And so that person will go between the 3 schools as it stands right now, because there are 77 students at this point in time who will qualify for the program next year, and that's a very reasonable number. We could go up to easily 150. So that's a very reasonable number for one person to serve at the 3 sites. And it will make her job easier because she was already bouncing between 3 schools, and she'll be able to spend more time at the 2 larger schools and less the other one.
All right, thank you. Item 3, action consent. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 4.1, call to the public. We have none. No old business. Item 6.1, approve. Was it after 6 p.m.? If it was after 6 p.m., guys want to do?
I'm good.
Let her speak.
Okay.
Do you have to read the admonition?
Oh, I need to read an admonition. This is item 4.1. According to ARS 38-431.01, a governing board may make an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions to allow individuals to address the governing board on any issue within the jurisdiction of the governing board. At the conclusion of the open call to the public, individual members of the governing board may respond to the criticism made by those who have addressed the governing board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Members of the governing board shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. We ask the audience members to practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. You will have 3 minutes, and please state your name.
My name is Madeline Lewis. I'm a senior at Cactus Shadows High School. I'm here tonight not just as a student, but as someone who believes in fairness, transparency, and the value of a student voice. I'm speaking tonight to bring attention to an experience I had with the Kiwanis Scholarship, an experience that was supposed to be known for their benefits and help, but it left me feeling ignored, unsupported, and ultimately unheard. I'm aware it's separate, but Kiwanis is a highly known part of our community. The Kiwanis Scholarship is one of the most respected, prestigious awards, and as a student who takes pride in my work and who was excited for the opportunity, I submitted my application early on December 22nd. I received an email confirmation from Kiwanis acknowledging that my application had been received. March 21st came around, and I began to hear from my peers that they had gotten interviews or had been notified that they didn't. Yet I heard nothing, no emails, no updates. I tried over and over again to get in touch. I called March 21st, the 24th, and 25th. I emailed March 24th and 26th, and after multiple attempts, I still got no response. Not only then did my parents get involved, and still days passed before a response came back. I wasn't heard until an adult got involved, and even then, I wasn't really heard. I was only told that it was my fault and that my application was incomplete, and this was news to me. I still have the essays. I know I submitted everything, so it must have been a technical issue. Maybe something went wrong. But no one was willing to check, no one was willing to hear me out, no one was willing to meet with me to discuss the issue. I wasn't given the benefit of the doubt or even the basic courtesy of a conversation. What's especially concerning is that personnel from the school board is also a part of the head of the Kiwanis Scholarship Committee. I understand that they're a separate group from CCUSD, but when they contribute to the process, it raises the expectation of accountability and student support, not dismissal. This isn't just about me not receiving a scholarship and not being heard. It's about how as students we're treated when we speak up and when we try to advocate for ourselves. It felt like my voice didn't matter, and if we can't trust the systems that are supposed to support us, how can we believe we're being represented? I'm here to advocate for myself and for students to speak up, and I ask the board to take a closer look at how these processes work for fairness and the true support of all students, because I was not supported. Remember, please, it's your job to uplift and support students, not leaving them feeling invisible. Thank you for listening.
We appreciate your comments. However, the school board has no jurisdiction or involvement with Kiwanis. This is not the time nor the place to discuss activities of Kiwanis. You do, sir.
And we've approached everywhere we could. I turned in my form.
Sir, they are separate, and excuse me, they are separate. She has been notified on multiple times what the process was. She was sent emails prior to the close of the application. They were opened 4 times. You have been provided with screenshots, and like I said, this is not the time nor the place to be discussing activities of Kiwanis. I appreciate your concern. Sir, I have documentation that shows the emails were opened. Sir, excuse me, you are out of order. You are not agendized to be talking about this. We do not have a call to the public forum for you. I don't have a form for you. And excuse me, sir, Mr. Lewis, I appreciate your concern. I really do. Mr. Lewis,
President Guerin, Mr. Lewis, the purview of this board is not the purview of Kiwanis and their activities. So this is not an actionable item for the board. It is not agendized. It is not anything that CCUSD has jurisdiction or anything over. I am sorry. I truly am. I sympathize for you. But these would be issues to bring up to Kiwanis's board and Kiwanis's leadership. In terms of theirs, we don't have it. I'm also happy to sit down with you. Happy to schedule a meeting. We can talk in my office. You can give me that. I'm happy to bring feedback back to Kiwanis. I do attend those things. So I'm happy to sit with you and your daughter at some point in time. My assistant can reach out to you and we can sit down, and I will absolutely listen and take whatever feedback. But in terms of the process with Kiwanis and that, it is not CCUSD related. It is not our governing board related. It is them. So again, I'm willing to work with them. I go there. I'm willing to work with you and sit there and listen with you and your daughter. Again, I apologize for whatever happened. Again, I don't know. It's not part of the district, other than we advertise that that's an option for all of our students. Thank you. And I'm happy to meet with you guys at some point to talk about how she was wrong from that organization, and I will bring that feedback to them.
I think it is a conflict of interest for the president of this board to be on the president of that committee, and for there to be that connection, but yet I was going to be separate, and there's no way you can get a hold of them to have that. And here's a public meeting and a public video.
For CCUSD, not for Kiwanis. So that is the public venue in terms of CCUSD. And the business of CCUSD, not Kiwanis's business. Again, I'm happy to meet with you and arrange some time to talk. But at this point in time,
we are not agendized for this. This is a conversation that we are not agendized for this.
because that is not a decision. We are keeping the students at the forefront of our decision making. That is their commitment. This is not CCUSD's decision making. Again, I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to learn, and I'm happy to take information as part of my commitment to support all students out in the community and with groups where they might be struggling or something wasn't right. So happy to do that for you. But again, this is not an agendized, this is not a Cave Creek Unified School District. 100%, and I'm glad she got to do it.
We are not agendized. We heard you, and she had her 3 minutes. We have moved on. We are done with public comments. Item 6.1.
At-
Item
at-
6.1.
At this point of time, you're preventing our
Sir,
meeting from coming.
Sir, you are out of order. We're going to ask that you be removed from here because you are out of order. We are not agendized for this. We have asked that this conversation take place in a venue other than here.
You can do the right thing. We've tried to have that conversation in a different venue, and she is a 17-year-old.
Sir, this conversation is done.
By many adults, she was turned down.
Sir, this conversation is done.
The conversation was done before you started because you won't listen to her. You didn't respond to her emails or phone calls for a week. And then you yell at me and her when I'm the one who reaches out to you. You're the one who's out of order.
Sir, this conversation does not need to take place here. This board has no jurisdiction over.
Had someone from an adult actually
Sir, this conversation is done. Sir, we are done with this conversation. The Cave Creek School Board has no jurisdiction over what Kiwanis does. Period. We are finished with this conversation. We are done. Item 6.1, approval of medical benefits for 2025-26 presented by Dr. Hendrickson. Sir, we are done with this.
President Greer, members of the board, move that the governing board approve the medical benefits for the 25-26 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 6.2, approval of 1% increase for classified and certified staff for the 2025-26 school year, presented by Dr. Hendrickson.
President Greer, members of the board, move that the governing board approve a 1.0% increase for classified and certified staff for the 25-26 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I have one question for this. When it's certified and classified, is that just for, does that include any administrators in this?
No, so there are no administrators. So if there's people that are coded in administrative code, like some of front office staff, they would still get the raise. They're considered classified, but no principals, district leadership, none of that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6.3, approval of gifted programming for the Cave Creek Unified School District, presented by Dr. Jensen.
President Greer, members of the board, administration moves that the governing board approve the gifted programming as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 7.1, upcoming calendar events, presented by Mr. Dolezal.
President Greer, members of the board, again, as we've all heard, state testing has begun and continues through April. April 18th is a district-wide day off. All schools and offices will be closed. April 26th is Rock the District at 6 p.m. at Harold's Cave Creek Corral.
Okay. Item 8, adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We are adjourned and it's 7:23.